Preparing a sandwich for the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. What I have here is a shovel that I bought at Lowe's, only cost $6. The reason I'm using this is because it was very cost effective. I ground the rivets off, I'm removing the spade, and that gives me a nice stick here. A sandwich is not what you think it is. When Forrest Fenn recommends bringing a sandwich and a flashlight on the treasure hunt. A sandwich is essentially a walking stick. A sandwich is on the same level as dowsing rods, where it's a stick that's used to discover treasure. It is brought out by the person who uses it, and they bring it out, and it's called a sandwich because it was typically used in the sand. And when the person using it, the stick stirs, they locate the treasure. All right? Whether you believe this type of thing works or not, doesn't really matter now, does it? Certainly a nice walking stick, certainly a nice device to bring while going on a treasure hunt and a hike. Now, seeing as Forrest had said that snow's coming soon and Searcher, if it was him, he'd be quiet, that maybe it's a nice thing to do for people to start putting together their own sandwiches, their own walking sticks. Maybe people can start carving them and making fancy details and even showing them off on some of the forums that people go on to talk about the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. I'm going to start decorating my sandwich using ancient pictographs because I believe they have to do with this treasure hunt. So here's the ancient pictographs, which come back from a time before the historical Egypt that we know about. An ancient time before the Sphinx that we see today. Now, the Sphinx that we see today, we know is not the original Sphinx because there has since been an excavation of the sand around the Sphinx, and it is known that the head proportion is not proper to go with the body proportion, and therefore it is believed that the Sphinx was so old and the head deteriorated that it had been restored, and the people who did the restoration did not know the proper proportion, or they may not have even known that the body existed underneath there. So what we're going to do today is use these pictographs that I re-engineered, or I should say I'm going to do that, and I'm going to add them onto my sandwich because I find it appropriate. Now, the most appropriate pictographs that we have here would be this one right here, which is a table, which also means the heart. That pictograph is a combination of two pictographs that were on this chart, and they were blended together. The first pictograph being the Tha, and the Tha is a basket, a box, a chest, a device, a vessel to hold something. The second picture is the Cha, and the Cha is a tent wall, and as you see, this tent wall, it has the ribs that are in place there, which is the structure of the tent to hold the covering in place. When those two are put together, it represents the heart. Now, this heart I made here with red, where I have the Tha in red, which represents the heart, and I have the Cha in black, which represents the ribs, which, you know, in a human being and other animals, that's the way the heart is. You have the heart, and you got the rib cage in front of it. So I find this very appropriate to put on a sandwich to go find a treasure chest that a person put their heart into it. So I'm going to take this here and I'm going to mount this right on my sandwich. Now I'm going to do it in a pretty simple manner here. And I may even get more fancy as time goes on. I'm going to do these pictures like the way that I'm doing it. I'm going to do them as drawings here on a graph. And I'm going to mount them on the stick here with some cellophane tape. That way I can move these around, I can change them, I can alter them till I get the design that I want, and then I can go ahead and carve it, and carve the pictures into my sandwich. But yes, this stick is now being charged with finding this chest, this heart, Forrest's heart. And that's where the treasure lies.